Hello, my name is Jaime Herrera. I'm the Director of Service for Imperial Range. Today we're going to be talking about our filter fryer. Our filter fryer basically means that you can actually switch initially one vessel of oil to the other via the filter system that's located down here below. This is your filter container. Everything flows into there, which is just giving you a little bit of an emphasis of what we're going to be talking about. But before we start going through those elements, what I want to talk about is the back of the flue. Okay? The back of the flue is very important because that's how everything ventilates. It ventilates because you're burning fuel and it's got to go somewhere. So you got to make sure that there's no obstruction or there's nothing inside of it. We find sometimes pots and pans. It does happen, believe me, rags, and therefore we will get a call saying that my burner is not working properly or it's not maintaining temperature, and that's because the unit can't breathe. So you need to make sure once in a while when you're doing your cleaning, make sure you check inside of it there to make sure it's nice and clear at all times. Again, use caution, safety when you're doing these types of checks, as you have a very hot surface right here. So make sure that you have either a towel or something that you can lean over and look over, or have somebody help you or spot you as you're doing that. So again, we were talking about, the elements of the unit. Again, this is a very nice unit. One of the things that we encourage is that you don't use abrasive chemical on these touchpads, okay, because you will start to deteriorate them. They do withstand a lot of heat and a lot of the elements that you're using, like oil. But again, there are some harsh chemicals out there that will actually counter-react with the actual material that's made out of, and you will damage it. So use caution on that. Just a little simple green usually does the trick, and you can clean it out properly. Second of all, what we've noticed in the industry, sometimes what we end up doing here is that we have two doors, right? In this case, we have the four, but you go down to light your pilot. And of course, you go down like this, right? So you're down here, and you're going like this, and you're lighting your pilot. Then you light it. Great, it's on, awesome. Then you grab onto here and you put all your weight on these doors. What happens? You jeopardize the hinge, or you may even break the hinge. And again, safety, you may even end up getting hurt. So please do not use these as leverage. What we've seen is that typically you'll go all the way to the end. That adds a lot of pressure on those hinges. So be careful with that, because you will get hurt and you will damage your door. So make sure you do not utilize these for that. This unit here, again, as we talked about, is a filtration system. Therefore, you're going to be able to take oil from this bay and put it into this bay. Okay? So you're going to have levers as such here to drop your oil one at a time, right? And it's going to drop in here, and then if you want to exchange it and put it over here, then you open up this blue lever as well. Now, one of the things to be very careful with is you have your return handles right here, one on each bay. That's to return the oil back into your vessel, right? But what happens is that a lot of times we grab these and we yank on them. Be gentle with your equipment. It's going to last longer. And then a lot of times we push it back really hard. In the back of the unit, there's switches, okay? If those switches are hit time after time after time, what's going to happen? It's going to break. Then you're going to call in and say that something doesn't work, or the vessel is not allowing the return to come back in, and that's because you broke the switch. So again, these are commercial units. They're very robust. They cook very, very well. But it's how you maintain them is how long they're going to last, right? They're not, they're very beautiful looking units, and again, they operate. We have them nationwide, all over the place. And what we've seen is the maintenance is key, making sure that everything is being maintained in a proper way. And I know we understand that you're in an environment where you got to get food out quick and stuff like that, right? But sometimes when you open your door, you throw it, right? That was gentle. But we've seen them when they're thrown really hard. And again, you affect the magnets and all the stuff that's here, okay? So make sure that you take care of your equipment. Now, we're going to talk about the lighting of the units. Again, this pilot right now is on full, okay? But what I really want to talk about is how you light it, what to use for lighting mechanism, right? This is the lighter that we recommend, or even a matchstick that you can put in there. Do not use anything that has a torch in front of it, okay? That will damage the thermopile that's in there, because as you can see, that's a little bit of a torch. The other ones are they have such strong force that it will overheat that thermocouple and damage it. So make sure you take the proper, or use the proper equipment, I should say, to make sure that your thermopile lasts longer by utilizing the right equipment to light it, okay? Once that is lit, you want to make sure that both sides are lighting and the fire is coming out of both corners of the bracket, okay? If it is not, that means that something's obstructing it. So therefore, you're going to have issues basically lighting all the burners that are in there. You also want to make sure that your orifices that are right here are not plugged. Sometimes overnight you can get a little spider that comes in and decides to build its little burrow, and therefore it's not going to allow it to force the gas through, and it's not going to be lighting properly. So again, one of the things that I would like to emphasize the most is this. Always make sure that you take the safety precautions that are needed. This is very hot oil, and there's a lot of things going on. So you want to make sure that if you're servicing it or doing anything of that nature, that the unit is in the off position, okay? You need to have it in the off position so that way you don't damage anything or you don't hurt yourself in the process. Also, what I want to talk to you about is this. What we have here is we have the filter, right? The filter here, again, you have to press down, then lift up to get this to come out. It may be a little tough, and also we recommend that you wear gloves because it's going to be hot. You're bringing in hot oil into this container. Once you've done that, be very, very careful. Wear your gloves. You can pull this unit out. Once you pull this out and you've emptied out your oil, there's a few components here that I want to talk about. You have your catcher, your basket catcher here for the debris. So this slides out this way and it goes back in this way, okay? Most of the time we find this just laying there and not really being utilized for what it's for. This is what's going to catch all your bigger debris, okay? So we put this to the side. The next thing that is really, really important that I want to talk about is your filter paper down here. This is what's going to keep stuff from going into your pump or into your system. This needs to be changed out every time that you do a tank exchange or vessel exchange of oil, okay? Now, so then you take these handles, pull them forward, pull it forward, then you take your handle, lift it up, then you have your paper, your filter paper right here. You can get this by the box, okay? So it's very important that every time that you do a vessel exchange of oil from one to the other, you're going to have that stuff going in there. Depending on how much you've used that oil, it's going to have a lot of content. So it's important to make sure that you replace that every time you do a vessel exchange or shift oil from one to the other. Putting this back in is just very simple. It just goes in. We want to make sure that all the paper is nice and even all the way across the body or the bottom floor of the unit. If not, then what's going to happen is that you're going to have oil that's going to be filtering from one side to the other, or going through actually. So now what you do is you take this back in, make sure it's seated properly. This weighs, and it weighs down on the paper so it doesn't move. Take your handles back up, pop them back into place. Now what you do is you take your filter container top and put it back in place so you know that everything is where it needs to be. Then you slide the unit back into place, making sure that it goes all the way back. And again, I know It may be a little bit challenging at times, but again, you just put some pressure down on this, put your hose back in. So, snaps just like that, and now it's flush. Okay? So make sure that it's this way, or else this is not going to allow any suction to come through or drop back down. Again, make sure your handles, make sure you're careful with your handles. Don't jam them, don't pull them hard, gently, right? It's commercial equipment, I know, I get it. It's built to last, but then again, it's how you treat your product is how long it's going to last. And that's with anything, right? Hope this has been helpful. I just want to point out one last thing. When you do exchange your oil, inside of this unit, you will have a high limit and a thermostat, okay? When you're cleaning and you're putting your brush in and so forth, be careful around that surrounding area. What happens is you'll pull on it and you may break it, okay? And when you break it, unit's not going to function. It's a safety, okay? Make sure you're careful around that area. And again, in order to keep everything nice and clean, once the vessel is empty, you may want to pour maybe a cup or two of oil. Therefore, you're able to remove anything that's down below. Now, there's also what we call a boil out, okay? A boil out means that basically what you're doing is you're taking all that residual oil that was in there that's sitting on the walls, that if you put, again, more oil in it, you're going to lose your flavor, right? You want consistency in all your foods, right? So we want to make sure we stay clean and consistent. So a boil out is basically what you do is you empty your vessel, you fill it up with water. Now, we don't provide the detergent for the boil out. You can use any detergent that you feel comfortable with, you can purchase, okay? Do your boil out, then once you do your boil out, as it boils and it takes time, go ahead and drain it, and now you can clean it again, okay? This is going to give your food consistency all the time. Again, a lot of times we've seen where oil is used over and over and over and over again, and believe it or not, that actually hurts the machine because, again, it's not going to be, there's going to be too much residual around the walls. So again, if you want to maintain your equipment, you want it to last longer, you need to do the proper maintenance and you need to do it properly.